I want people to understand this ordeal. It's taken a toll on both of us.
Casey Anthony's parents respond after 15 years of allegations.
I've gotten blamed for something I didn't do, and it tears me up inside.
This can change our life. This is serious.
This is their final response.
The test is about to begin. Please remain still.
Casey Anthony's parents, the lie detector test. Watch now, only on A&E. And watch next day on the A&E app.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
You can support this podcast at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
Here's what we have to check out, Rebecca.
Tell me.
It's the new show from CBS All Access. It's their original series called $1.
Ooh.
Okay, here's how it works. It's a small town, and there's deep class divides, and there's crime, and there's mystery, but it all follows from sort of the point of view of this $1 bill that keeps getting passed around from different people.
Huh.
So you get this really horrifying multiple murder case.
Okay.
And see how it's all kind of connected by the dollar. Experience shifting points of view as you get closer to the truth, and dark secrets are revealed. It's got a great cast. It's led by John Carroll Lynch from American Horror Story and The Walking Dead. So there's a lot to be excited about. Hurry to cbs.com/crime for your free trial of CBS All Access and their new original series, $1. That's cbs.com/crime.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On, the podcast about other podcasts and also about true crime, pop culture, TV, journalism. And this week, we'll look at the most famous crime to come out of our parts. Investigation Discovery has a new 3-part series revisiting the crimes and trial of Pam Smart. Plus, the state speaks in the Adnan Syed appeal. Also, we'll go back to some of the podcasts and TV shows we reviewed this summer to talk about their finales. And we'll talk about some new offerings in the crime media landscape, including the heralded return of Up and Vanished, True Detective, and American Vandal. Joining me to get all that stuff done and even more is my true crime co-author, real-life husband, and home renovation survival buddy, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, Rebecca. Wow, we got a lot to get to. Let's get on our horse.
Also with us is true crime author, journalist, former defense investigator, licensed private investigator, and certified cat lady, Laura Bricker. Hello, Laura Bricker.
Hello, Rebecca Lavoie.
Is that some ice over there clinking in a glass that I hear?
No, you know what it was? I'm not going to tell you because you want to smack me. It was my watch. It said, "Congratulations, Laura. You hit all 3 goals today for exercise."
Yeah, I don't want to hear about anything about that.
While you're sitting in front of a microphone drinking a glass of wine.
Rum.
I want that exercise routine.
Also with us is our resident Doubting Thomas, the novelist behind the acclaimed City trilogy, and our Patreon-exclusive book club host of Ball's Deep Dive book club podcast, Toby Ball. Hello, Toby.
Toby?
Hello, I'd lost you for a second.
That was dramatic. Toby, speaking of our Patreon-exclusive book club podcast, patrons at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia will be treated to a new book club podcast. It's coming out probably the day after this show drops, sometime this weekend. Toby, what is this month's book club podcast all about?
It is about a collection of essays by a woman named Alice Boland called Dead Girls. I've actually got it right here. Dead Girls, Essays on Surviving an American Obsession. And it's me and Marsha Chatelain.
Brilliant.
Yeah, she's awesome. And Meg Heckman and Kimberly from Date with Dateline podcast.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty lively conversation. I think people will find it interesting. Potentially, hopefully, more interesting than the actual book was. So.
And of course, we're just waiting on our very handsome line editor, Henry Lavoie, who has returned home to put together that podcast for us, and it will drop this weekend. So Patreon
Awesome.
folks, look forward to that, or non-Patreon folks, go sign up at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media, and you too can get access to the exclusive Balls Deep Dive Book Club podcast.
And there'll be another one coming out pretty quickly after that, too.
Right, with Rabia, and
Because
who else
we
is
got
on that
backed
one?
up. Yeah,
on that
Rabia, Laura, and Katie from Date with Taylor.
Ooh, all ladies.
Ladies' night at the Deep Dive.
Does that mean there's like $2 shots or something?
Oh,
Ladies' night?
all the
Drink
$2
specials?
shots you can handle.
Gotta take them off in my belly.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. Kevin, can you please read this for me?
True Crime Podcast Update.
It's like plural. I even wrote it that way. I said read that like this for me.
Update.
Perfect. All right. Well, there's a lot to get to, so I didn't want to make you read that over and over again. So I pluralized it. The first thing I want to talk about is something big that happened this week in the world of podcasting and in the world of cereal. Kim Kardashian, who I don't feel like I need to say like the reality star known for blah, blah, blah. Everyone knows who Kim Kardashian is. Tweeted this week that she was listening to Serial Season 1, and she was on up to Episode 4, and she wanted to know if people thought Adnan Syed was guilty or not. And that, of course, created a firestorm on Twitter with some people basically being like, Kim, did you schedule this tweet in 2014? And others like Rabia Chaudhry, like me, like other people just being kind of thrilled that the true crime podcast tent was opening up to somebody who I think we may have considered to be very far outside of our wheelhouse. Kevin, what do you think? Kim K, getting on the true crime podcast train, good or bad for us, our industry, podcast in general? Thoughts?
I think we've jumped the shark.
Really?
No. I mean, I think anything that expands awareness of podcasting is great. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of the Venn diagram here of podcast listeners and fans of Kim Kardashian and sort of like where that falls over. And
I'm raising my hand right now.
But now think of the part outside of the diagram that it's just Kim Kardashian fans.
Yeah.
Can we start like moving that so it covers more, some more podcasts, more of those folks get into podcasts?
I'm just going to say a couple things. One is that Kim Kardashian, whatever you may think of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian's rise to fame as best friend of Paris Hilton, and then sex tape, I would say victim, and all the other stuff, did just get a wrongly convicted woman out of prison. She has a new interest in criminal justice reform. And
I was wrongly convicted.
Well,
but you got her
wrongly sentenced woman.
Okay, sure, yeah.
And she is now putting her considerable cultural weight behind the cause of criminal justice reform. So I think she could be very good for the true crime sort of cause and listenership in general. And also I'll say this. Do you remember watching with me the Caitlyn Jenner coming out interview with Diane Sawyer on TV when she kind of came out as a trans person? And the conversation we had, which is that this family is uniquely positioned to bring certain issues to the forefront in a way that other people in pop culture are not.
Are you going to make this equivalency right now?
I'm not. I'm just going to say,
right.
I think Kim Kardashian being interested in Adnan Syed's case is not bad for the Adnan Syed's case.
Not bad. Can't get a pardon, though, folks, because that's not a federal crime.
It's true.
Can't get a presidential pardon.
It's true. What do you think, Laura, of Kim K being under our tent?
I just like kind of watching all the tweets and the reaction to her tweet this week. And Toby Ball even tweeted back to her, which that's when I first saw something going on. I'm like, Toby just tweeted at Kim Kardashian. What is happening? So, you know what? It's good on many fronts. It's opening up Toby's frontier as well here.
That's right. Toby, thoughts?
Cultural awareness on my part. Yeah. Sure. Why not? If she wants to listen to it, that's awesome.
I am an occasional, sometimes frequent viewer of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, depending on what's happening in their world. And Kim, I will say for the record, has always been my favorite of the Kardashian sisters. And if you happen to find yourself listening to this podcast, Kim, don't listen to the haters. Haters gonna hate. You're welcome under our tent anytime. So another big kind of thing that happened in the true crime podcast world in the last couple weeks, I'm wondering if any of you guys have heard about the sort of big swirling controversy around My Favorite Murder and what happened with their Facebook group. Laura, did you hear about this?
I did not, no.
All right. Well, Kevin, you've heard about this.
Yeah, I have.
All right. So the basic rundown is that My Favorite Murder, which is a hugely popular podcast that I have, in my experience, found that people either adore or don't understand at all. It's either usually one of the two. They had a extremely vibrant Facebook group with something like 300,000 people. Keep in mind, My Favorite Murder is about 15 times as big as we are in terms of audience, in terms of revenue, in terms of everything. They are a juggernaut in the true crime commentary world. And they have kind of been suffering with their audience, I think, through issues around inclusion and their audience and members of their audience feeling like they haven't been included in some conversations that have to do with diversity. And there was a misstep with a merchandise item that they put together that had an image of a teepee on it. And people thought that that was cultural appropriation. And there were some comments made in their Facebook group that their moderators perhaps didn't catch quickly enough. The conversation devolved. Maybe there was one host who now admits she didn't respond quickly enough. And it basically turned into a swirling dervish of everything that you hope will not go wrong with your
junior
wonderful...
high school? What the...
No, basically it was a swirling dervish of everything you hope that will not go wrong with your vibrant podcast community. All went wrong, and now they have permanently shut down their Facebook group.
Oh, I couldn't shut down our Facebook group, you know? I mean,
it would be tough. And the reason that I bring it up is not because I want to, like, you know, schadenfreude on another podcast. Like, this is one of those things that's like sort of like there, but for the grace of God go I.
How many people in that Facebook group? Like 1 million?
Like more than 250,000, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a lot bigger than ours. And I will say, murderinos out there, if you're looking for another Facebook group to join, the Crime Writers On official Facebook discussion group is pretty rad and awesome. And we don't have the professional moderating thing that the My Favorite Murder one had, but you are welcome. And we will immediately kick you out if you're a garbage person. Just know that. But you are welcome. Anyway, the only thing that I wanted to say about this is, I think, and this is when I look at what happened and what the hosts of My Favorite Murder have written about it, I just want to let our audience know that the four of us talk very deliberately, and we edit the show this way, and we think this way about inclusion and about trying to be as open to as many viewpoints as possible in our audience and to keep diversity top of mind. We are four white people from New Hampshire, and we know we have to be proactive to encourage healthy conversations that are not offensive, that don't violate people's feelings of safety. And I just want to let you know we're working very hard to prevent exactly what we saw happen with the My Favorite Murder community. So that's all I have to say about that. And I just wanted to bring it up because it was kind of a big shakeup in the true crime podcast world.
Well, thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Well, you're welcome. Laura Bricker.
Yes, Rebecca.
I'd like to do a little true crime podcast catch up with you because on the last episode, we talked briefly about a show that you'd been listening to, and we've gotten some requests to review the show. I just feel like it's kind of been out for a while, so maybe it's not exactly in our trying to keep up with the latest wheelhouse, but you did listen to the new podcast from American Media Inc. Yes, that American Media Inc. Okay. It's called Fatal Voyage, The Mysterious Death of Natalie Wood.
Before Jennifer Lawrence, before Reese Witherspoon, before Julia Roberts, there was Natalie Wood. She was America's sweetheart, and she was taken from us too soon.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that podcast.
And we're granting you immunity on your review.
Well, I started listening to this earlier this summer when we were kind of in what I'll call these summer doldrums, when there weren't too many new podcasts coming out, and I was doing my walks, and I was like, I need something to listen to. So this is, obviously, it's about the death of Natalie Wood, who fell overboard off of her super mega yacht and drowned. And I really didn't know anything about this case. Fireman Ken did. He made a very inappropriate joke, which was probably, others have probably heard the inappropriate joke about what kind of wood doesn't float.
Natalie Wood, yes. We've all heard that.
When I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, well, see, I missed all that.
Oh, that's right, because you didn't have TV. You always forget you didn't have TV when you were growing up. So you you didn't know that she was in the boat with Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken?
No, I didn't know any of this. And I was
Wow.
like, oh, this is really interesting. So I will say it is definitely a very kind of stylized podcast. They've got this narrator who kind of sounds like that guy, Robin Leach, who used to be on like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
R.I.P. Robin Leach.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Isn't it? Am I right? And he's like,
yeah,
and I'm like, so it's just.
You guys know he passed
he's-
away this week, right? Robin Leach?
Did he really?
He really did.
Well, talk about weird
Did he
timing.
fall off a boat? All right.
After having 10 bottles of wine. So it's very stylized. But what I like about it, the episodes are short. They do have some interesting perspectives in there. They've got her sister. They've got their boat captain. They've got some interesting kind of academic folks who talk about Hollywood. So the episodes are short and sweet, and they're interesting. What I don't necessarily like, and this is just, I think, because we've been doing what we do for a while now, some of the sound quality is kind of weird. Like they have some really weird music that they mix in. And then all of a sudden it gets really loud and then it just stops and somebody's talking again. So there's some kind of, I think, technical issues that, they could stand to work on. But overall, I mean, it's interesting.
That's weird because from what I hear from American media, that they have microphones everywhere.
They've been keeping this audio in a safe.
In a safe.
Well, yeah, exactly. So they did have some interesting audio of her, doing some interviews, and it's an interesting story, and it is still going on. So they're releasing new episodes. There's still more episodes coming out. I mean, I just listened to the one where, she, spoiler, she drowned and was covered in a simple blanket.
I'm sorry. I you say things, and I find myself laughing at people's deaths on the show. And then I'm just anticipating the emails I'm going to get with, Dear Rebecca, I found it appalling that as soon as Laura mentioned the drowning death of beloved actress Natalie Wood, star of my favorite movie of all time, West Side Story, in which she plays a Puerto Rican person, even though she's white, you laughed. And that was
what did I say
inappropriate.
last week? Somebody was
She's very
seriously dead or
Seriously
very dead, clearly dead.
Very dead.
Yeah. So anyway, it's interesting that they have gotten some people to sound in, but the narrator, you kind of have to, get used to him a little bit, but he keeps it lively. And then they have very lively ads with like jazz music playing.
I have to say, everything about this is so funny to me because I think about all the recommendations we get for podcasts, people trying to get me to listen to, and they'll write to us or tweet to us, and they'll be like, listen, the sound quality is horrible. The production is terrible. The host is insufferable. But you should listen to this anyway. And I'm like, it's like saying, smell this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think this milk has gone bad? Laura, can I ask you a question? Because I'm thinking of, in particular, the first season of Slow Burn and some of the TV shows we've watched where there are stories that are complete and have been around for a while, so there's not really a surprise ending, but it's all in the way that we look back on it, and maybe there's the things that we remember and the things that we don't, and if it's done well, it can be interesting, like Slow Burn, like The People versus O.J. Simpson. Is this...
Laura doesn't remember this. She doesn't know anything about it.
Okay, all right.
Well, I don't think there's any new information. They claimed that there was new information from the boat captain. However, he also wrote a tell-all book a few years ago, so his new information is already out there. But this was like his first audio interview because he didn't tell the whole truth to the police the night that this all happened, and in the early investigation in terms of some of the backstory about her relationship with Robert Wagner and her relationship with Christopher Walken. Listen, it's an easy listen.
You didn't make it sound like an easy listen the way you described it.
Bad.
It's not that bad. It's thumbs diagonally sideways. All right. Well, Kevin, I just want you to read one more of these for me.
True Crime Podcast Update.
Now, this is the True Crime Podcast Update that, Kevin, you are choosing to sit out of, from what I understand.
Probably just going to
sit off to the side?
Yeah, in protest. I'm taking a knee on this one.
Season 2 of Up and Vanished, our favorite podcast to talk about on this show, except not, is out. We are going to not spend much time rehashing our thoughts because, as you know, we have well-documented concerns about the Up and Vanished brand, about Payne Lindsay. But some of us have listened in to at least a little bit of Up and Vanished's new season, and we have a couple of thoughts. I listened to the first episode in its entirety. Toby, I know you listened to some of the first episode. Laura, I know you listened in a little bit. I would love your first impressions. Toby Ball, first impressions of season 2 of Up and Vanished.
I was actually kind of flabbergasted.
About what?
That good?
About the whole thing. Like the way that he managed to find like a woman who disappeared who was psychic and foretold all kinds of things. The way he like gave us a little cultural background of the drum circle by playing like old recordings of Native American dances.
Yep.
It was just I couldn't, it seemed like it was a self-parody. I think unintentionally, and I hate to say that because I would like to be bigger than that and give some kind of counter argument to all this.
Yeah.
But I was listening and I was like, I honestly can't believe that this is being put forward like with a straight face.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Laura Bricker, what did you think of what you heard of the new season of Up and Vanished?
It's very dramatic. Yeah, that's what I hadn't listened since the first season, I think, and I forget there's like the long pauses between sections, the use of music. I got through the drum circle part and I was like, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I'll probably continue listening just to the end of the first episode, to be fair. So I don't think I can really give a accurate review at this point.
Okay.
I need to finish that one episode.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And Kevin, we should be clear, you are actually sitting out this part of the conversation on purpose.
I just don't want to. We've talked about this before, and I just, I think reviewing this podcast is just a lose-lose.
Right.
Because either we say he end up, like Toby wants to say, like, this is the most fantastic, misunderstood person, this is a really great piece of art, or we just shit on it again, because it doesn't seem to be any in between. And I don't want to. I don't want to go there.
Okay, well, can I just say the things that are different from season 1?
Absolutely, you can.
That are better.
Okay.
Because there are a couple. He has a producer now. So the quality of some of the just raw interview tape is better. And the way those actual interview sections are edited is better, where you hear just the person talking. Like you can hear where a real audio producer went in and like used breaths to tape together audio. I can hear that stuff. So that stuff is better. And they did find it interesting. I mean, there's another case, a missing person. And those things seem better. There are some things that are not better. And I say worse. One of those things is the fetishism of sound design. The sound design on this podcast is extreme. It's not like sound design in an artful way that's like new, I haven't heard before. It's like extreme sound design to a level which actually completely takes away from what you're listening to. And it's also very counter to the writing. So at the beginning of the episode, there's a little passage where Payne makes this statement.
Everyone's grabbing for instruments. And even though they can barely see each other, they're all playing strangely in sync.
Good evening.
And then they drop in music that is clearly like music, not like the people actually playing their instruments.
No, that was super weird.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of stuff like that where it's like, this is not the thing you recorded at the time. It's just clearly not the thing you recorded in the field at the time, but he's saying that it is. And that's weird. And there's like this fetishism with echoes and like speeds up and slowdowns. And the other thing that I will say, and I'm saying this because I know that he has a producer now, and I'm like talking to that really nice sounding woman who's the producer of the show. She's probably not listening to this podcast. But if she does, I want to say this. Please edit the scripts so that either Payne or the person being interviewed doesn't exactly repeat the thing that we just heard in the clip or the thing we're about to hear in the clip. Like, exactly repeat it. It is...
Well, what do you mean?
It's comical.
Do you have a clip?
One thing most people agree on is that this is the last place she was seen. It's called a drum circle. She was seen at what they call a drum circle.
And the other thing I would say is I'm all about the interviewer being in the tape with the person so that we can hear that Payne was actually there. Because you know that like... you wonder, like, with all these productions, like, how much of it is, like, Payne was actually there interviewing the person. I would just say, just for the sake of it, making it sound like he was there, don't include the question That sounds like a John David Booter question.
So she came down and took care of me immediately from Crestone till I could take care of myself. And then 2 days after she got back to Crestone, she disappeared.
Have you seen her since then?
No, she disappeared, and that was the last I seen of her.
All right, so that would be an example of that. So I'm not a fan. It's overproduced, poorly written, and I know people love it. And good for you if you're one of the people who loves it. Good for you. But
he's going to sell a lot of, I don't know, was it mineral water?
Dude, he is making that ad.
A consultant? I don't know.
Can we please just talk about that weird-ass ad? Did you guys hear that weird-ass ad? Super weird. I just want to play one tiny clip from that ad.
There's no truer crime than professional mediocrity.
That's my new phone ringtone, Kevin. That's my new phone ringtone.
God.
There is something about this, like, I would love it for it to suddenly be awesome. Because I went into this thinking, like, clean slate. I don't want to be just like that awful person who just like likes to talk about something that she hates just because she hates it. But it is like one of the top podcasts in America. And like, we do talk about the most popular podcast. So it would be like weird to pretend it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Okay. We'll leave it at that then.
All right. Well, let's move on to something else that perhaps we might end up liking a little better and perhaps not. Kevin, can you please read this for me?
HBO and Netflix updates.
All right. Let's start with the mixed, shall we? Not the good, the bad, the ugly, but the mixed. HBO's adaptation of Gillian Flynn's Sharp Objects just finished its run.
Now that the Keene boys are arrested,
all's well at last.
is it?
Would you be more sad if John died or I died?
I don't want anybody to die.
I just want to say we're going to talk for a couple of quick minutes about the ending of Sharp Objects. If you want to skip ahead, if you are watching the series and haven't yet seen the ending, we're going to put a little clip for you in the show notes about where this section ends so that you know where to fast forward to. So, Sharp Objects, I know that Toby and Laura both read the book, and you did not, Kevin.
Correct.
How did you feel, Kevin, about the reveal of the killer at the end of Sharp Objects? Surprised, not surprised? How do you think it went?
I was surprised, well, only because like this should be wrapping up, so something's not right.
There's only 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, there seems to be a lot of, now we're just having dinner at the editor's house, so like, okay, something's still up. But yeah, I did not pick her as the killer the whole way through.
Well, we've said this is the spoiler part, so you can say Emma. You can pick Emma.
The daughter.
The sister.
The sister. And I do understand why they finished the episode right where it did and then included the post-credit flashes, and I suppose we'll be talking about that, but I think when it kind of wraps up, it's like, oh, okay, that's a good killer for the mystery part of the show. I mean, it had some other
What did you
problems.
think about those credit flashbacks where it showed how the crimes were committed?
Well, I have to go with the decision to end the show on the line, "Don't tell Mama."
Yeah.
And cut to black, because I think it was pretty powerful. I think, isn't that the way the book ends? Is that like the last line of the book? Which it probably should be, right? I mean,
I don't know.
I think it's going for that punch and done. But the problem with that is, while it ends up being a surprise and it's a really good place to stop, you still have the question about, how did you do it? What happened?
Right.
So I think a way to address that in the television medium is to, say the line, this is the end of the show, we start rolling credits, and then we stop, and then we show you some flashes of what this means. It means that, you see her with her friends holding down one of the victims, choking with the clothesline, which we know one of the victims was choked with. The shot of like the pink fingernails.
Yep.
And we know that the killer had painted the fingernails. And so basically showing her she was the killer.
Right.
And how she did that. So I think it was able to maintain sort of the surprise punch of that last line.
Right.
Where she picks up the tooth and anyhow.
I will say there's
it's unusual, but I think it worked.
There's one thing about just aside from like how the series was and how it ended, there's one thing about how it all wrapped up that is very true to the Gillian Flynn novels, not just one, but all of them. My biggest complaint about all of her books is that they're really, really, really good. And then they wrap up in about 10 pages with about 30 plot points. And all of her books are like that, and that's always been a huge issue for me. The endings always feel super rushed and super out of nowhere. Laura, what did you think about how Sharp Objects wrapped up? I'm saving Toby for last because I know his feelings are the strongest. Spoiler alert. I just want to know your thoughts.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I really didn't love this series as much as I hoped I would love it. I just felt like it dragged. And like the last probably 3 episodes, I don't even think I watched them on Sunday. I waited till like later in the week. I was just like, because I want to get to the ending, but I just wasn't feeling it was just slow. So yeah, the ending, I feel like for people that maybe didn't read the book, I don't know if the total context of why she was the killer was as, explored as well, or sort of, brought out. Because I mean, I definitely felt like when I finished the book, I had a better understanding of maybe why she had done this. And I don't feel like I had the same sense from watching the series. And I don't know how, Kevin, I don't know how you saw that in those credits, because I watched it like 3 times. I'm like, what's happening? Who's doing what?
Oh, I
What's
think I
going
had
on?
some assistance from the internet.
Yeah, we read articles about it the next day.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
didn't
'cause
actually tell what was going on.
Yeah, I had deleted
no
it and
idea.
then I undeleted it from the DVR so I could watch it again.
There's like a nice Vox article about it that we read or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
And I'm
be
with you, Laura. I wanted to like it more than I
Yeah.
wasn't able to really.
Yeah. I mean, the last episode was probably, better than the other ones, but it definitely in the middle, I was just like, all right, already, let's get moving here. So I just felt like
Calhoun Day.
Yeah.
Toby, Sharp Objects. Final thoughts on this series and how it ended.
It was terrible.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Well, you've got, an 8-hour prestige, big actors, really parts of it really well acted. The direction, I think, for the most part, is really good. And your storytelling is so lame that you have to do like the Encyclopedia Brown thing at the end where you have to flip a page to find out what actually happened. I thought it was mind-blowingly bad, I thought, to do that. I agree with Kevin in that the ending, that's a good little moment of television. But if they wanted to keep that, they had to do something a little bit different with the storytelling so that when she says that, it signals to you exactly what happened.
Right.
Because at the time, at least the way I kind of interpreted what was going on was that Adora, must have had an accomplice. And it was like, well, who's the accomplice? So then I thought maybe that's what she was trying to imply by that, is maybe she helped pull the teeth out after Adora killed them. But then when you go to that little montage, it seems like Adora really didn't have much to do with it.
Right.
Like the actual killings. It just seemed like a real failure of storytelling that they had to do that. I saw that there's a little after thing where the director is talking about how great it is that they did that. And I was just, I don't know. It seems like it's a failure if you spend 8 hours on a story. And I would say about 3 of them were just completely boring and useless. And then you still have to spend 30 seconds to kind of explain what it all meant anyway. And that's just the end of it. I didn't understand this whole it turns out she's been poisoning my sisters and killed one of them. So the way I'm going to deal with it is to go home and then allow her to poison me.
Right.
I didn't understand what that was all about.
Yeah.
And maybe that's being dense. That seemed like a decision that was made to put her in danger for the dramatic effect rather than sort of any kind of logic that a real person would use in trying to deal with that problem.
Right. Well, there were a lot of weird, very lazy TV style storytelling things like that. There was that. There was the editor showing up to save her out of nowhere. When basically we've been shown that he has cancer and he's getting treatment for that, and all of a sudden he's concerned about her enough to show up. That came out of nowhere. And then there was that whole incredibly lazy scene. I know this is from the book, but I just think it could have been done better. There was an opportunity where we see her sleeping with that young kid, and we already know the cops are on the way to that hotel room. So we're just waiting for the sexy detective boyfriend to bust in and sort of catch them in bed together. And we're just waiting for it for 20 minutes. We know it's going to happen. And so when it happens, it has zero dramatic effect because we know it's going to happen. We hear them on the radio saying he's at the motel, go to the motel. Yeah, it wasn't good. It just wasn't. And I keep seeing these loving reviews of it online. I really don't get what people see in this, that I feel like I'm just missing it.
I agree on that scene with the editor. I actually rewound because I was watching it on demand. I'm like, did I miss something? She was poisoned. She's dying. She's crawling around. all of a sudden the police are here. Like, I thought I must have missed something because the transition there was so far out of left field.
Yeah.
The other part of that scene where she's sleeping with that kid that I was like kind of eye rolled about is they make sure that they put in there that he's of age. You know, like she gets asked that. It's like, oh, okay, well, at least it's not statutory rape.
Yeah.
And then the other detail, which I totally would not have known, like, I wouldn't have known about that thing in the credits unless I'd read about it the next morning in like New York Magazine or something. And then I also didn't know that in the dollhouse, the like ivory floor that's in the real house is made out of teeth in the dollhouse.
Right.
Because it goes by so fast. And I had to pause it and then walk up close to the TV screen. And I was like, oh, yeah, those are teeth. And that's like actually kind of a cool detail.
Yeah, it's important. It's an important plot point.
And it completely like I don't know how you could possibly see that running through it at normal speed at a normal distance from a TV.
Right.
It just seemed totally lost.
And there's also no sense in the show until that very last episode we see her with her new friend that she ends up murdering. There's no sense in the show that she's made this dollhouse herself. We're sort of under the impression that it was just something she had, not something she made.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it also makes no sense that she'd be making the floor out of teeth.
Again, maybe I'm being dense here, but I was looking back and like I kind of knew that from the book that she was the one, and I kept waiting for like clues or hints that it was her in the show, and I didn't see any.
Right.
You know, one of the
It's cheating.
You know, one of the agreements that you make as an author in these kinds of things is that you leave enough stuff in there, hopefully that's clever, so that when the reveal happens, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
And this is just like, you know, you could pick any of a bunch of people and have the same response to it.
Right.
I mean, you could have said it was the sheriff, or
It
you
was
could
the
have said
barber.
it was right. You know, it's like any of those people would be like, oh, okay, well, I guess so.
I guess this just proves, though, that the book is better than the movie.
Right.
Which
It
is
is.
why I think it's really great to get an Audible subscription, because then you could listen to the audiobook before you get to see the movie, or maybe, you know, save the day after watching a really bad movie.
Yes.
Audiobooks are a great sidekick for summer activities like hiking, running, road tripping, going outside.
Yes.
Staying inside when it's
Ignoring your
hot as hell
family.
like this. Yeah. So it's a good time to be listening to audiobooks. Now, Toby, the next Toby Balls Deep Book Club podcast.
Toby Balls Deep.
What did I call it?
My Deep Club.
Toby's Deep Dive Book Club.
Deep Dive.
Balls Deep Dive
Balls Deep.
Book Club.
Okay.
Yes.
So Toby, the book you're reading next is Fact of a Body.
Yes.
Correct.
And then after that, what's the book coming up after that one?
It's The Monster of Florence by Douglas Preston, which has one of the most distinctive audio readings of any audiobook I've ever had.
Yes, actually, you're right, because I have that. I said I read it, but I listened to it as an audiobook from Audible, and it's a great read, and you know it's a way to consume these books for your book podcast or just for fun.
Yep.
Well, it lets you do all the other things that you need to do. Listen to a book while you're doing the groceries or sitting in traffic.
Ignoring
or
your family.
Ignoring your family or the boss. As an Audible member, you'll get a credit every month for an audiobook regardless of the price, and all your unused credits roll over to the next month. Even give you a little reminder that you've got one there.
That's
like,
right.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go get a book. Plus, your books are yours to keep, so you can go back and re-listen to them, even if you cancel. And you can switch seamlessly between your devices, so you can pick up where you left off, either on your phone or your Amazon Echo. You can start your 30-day trial and get your first audiobook for free by going to audible.com/crime or text the word crime to 500-500. That's Audible, AUDIBLE.com/crime, or text crime to 500-500. You can do it with audiobooks.
You can do it.
I'm going to say on that Audible thing, at least I could have heard the story on Audible because I could never hear half of what they were saying in Sharp Objects. So if I had listened to the audiobook, I'm sure I would not have missed half of the story.
Yes, and let's just pause this ad break for a second to talk about that, because every time I tweet about this, like hundreds of people say they have the same experience. HBO. If anybody who works at HBO is listening to this stupid podcast, you mix your shows way too low, and you distribute them way too low. I have to listen to your shows twice as loud as I watch anything else on my cable package. HBO, work on your audio situation. All right, what else you got, Kevin?
Well, okay. We get support from Rothy's shoes. Stylish, sustainable, and comfortable flats for everyday wear anywhere. Rothy's is the everyday flat for life on the go with 3 fashionable styles. They have the flat, the point, and the loafer, and an amazing color and pattern selection that will always be updated. Not to mention, they're the softest shoe you'll put on your feet. So I know all of you guys got flats.
I got the flats, yeah.
I got a flat. Toby, Deborah got what? A flat?
We all got the flats.
Everybody got flats.
She loves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So Deborah loves hers. Rebecca, do you?
Yep, they are, not only are they stylish and look cute with everything, but they're also made of recycled materials. They are machine washable, so you get that foot stank right out of there. Or if you go for a walk in the muddy grass, you can just throw them right in the washing machine when you're done. They're amazing shoes. We actually got a pair for our stepdaughter before she went to college. My stepdaughter, your daughter, I got her a pair to send off to college with.
That's right. You put them in the
because they will
box.
last the entire time she's at college. They're incredible.
Laura, can you believe they're made from recycled plastic water bottles?
It's awesome. I have to say, I've been having a lot of guilt about plastic. I wrote about some little kids and their quest to end plastic straws earlier this year. So I was super excited when I got these shoes because I felt like, not only are they awesome and they look good, I felt like I was doing something good by getting shoes like that. And I have to tell you, I get so many compliments on these shoes when I wear them around. Everybody's like, are those the water bottle shoes? Everybody wants to know because, they've gotten a lot. That's really neat that's how they're making them.
They're perfect for a hate walk around the neighborhood.
They are, and they're hot pink, so they're raging. Mine are anyway.
Rothy's has an amazing deal. Use code CRIME to get free shipping. No minimum. That's free shipping plus free returns and exchanges on your Rothy's shoe when you go to Rothy's, ROTHYS.com and enter CRIME.
CRIME.
This is a no-brainer. Shoes that are comfortable, stylish, and sustainable. Plus, free shipping. Get yourself a pair today. Rothys.com, promo code CRIME.
CRIME.
Get this deal while it lasts.
All right. Well, Kevin, before the ad break, we were doing a quick HBO and Netflix update. And we kind of went down a longer road with our strong feelings about sharp objects. I just want to do like a quick run through of the other items on our TV menu that I was hoping to get to tonight.
Okay.
There is a brand new trailer for season 2 of American Vandal.
It was really just a normal day. I don't know how else to describe it.
It was Chicken Finger Monday.
Those things are damn good.
Early into that lunch, I knew something was off.
It didn't really hit me right away. And then it really hit me.
The lemonade was contaminated.
911.
All of our students, they're all pooping.
Most of us just shit our pants right in front of everyone.
People were just trying to find a place where they could shit.
This was the worst thing I've seen in 20 years.
Before it was all over, it had a name. The Brownout.
Of course, American Vandal was a show that we all loved on Netflix. They made a whole mystery in season 1. It was a parody of the true crime genre, and they had made a whole mystery out of dick drawings. And as we just heard, season 2 is going to be all about a new criminal called the Turd Burglar. My question for you, panel, is dick jokes, hilarious, poop jokes. Can they sustain a whole season, or do you think that this show will have jumped the brown shark? Toby Ball, what do you think?
God damn it.
No, poop jokes don't have the same sort of sophistication and possibilities that dick jokes have.
Yeah.
So I just don't see how it can work.
What about you, Laura? What do you think?
There has been a lot of poop in the news with all these people, like the mad poopers, like that like school person in New Jersey that was like pooping on the trash. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe it's having a comeback. I don't know.
What do you think, Kevin? American Vandal season 2, Turd Burglar. Are you in? Are you out? You think it's going to work?
Oh, I'm totally in. I mean, I don't know if it's supposed to be sustained by the poop jokes.
Yeah.
If it's as good or tries to be half as good as American Vandal, I think it's still worth it.
I really liked the Sister Kathy imagery they do in the trailer. It clearly takes place like in a Catholic school. They have a lot of that, like kids banging on doors, dramatic imagery. I think it's going to be just another setup of the true crime genre in general. I hope they bring something new to it. And I hope the poop jokes aren't too stinky.
Oh.
All right. Well, another HBO offering to look forward to. Big news this week. The podcast, My Dad Wrote a Porno, will be coming to the network as an adapted TV show for HBO. Producers say the episodes will be based on the gang's sellout live shows. Laura Bricker, I know you're a big My Dad Wrote a Porno fan. Are you in for the HBO adaptation of that podcast?
I am, and me and my cat, Rocky Flintstone, are going to watch it together.
And Toby Ball, we have now the return of another prestige TV drama from HBO, something that we have mixed feelings about. Season 1 wowed some of us. Season 2 disappointed all of us. True Detective has dropped its trailer for Season 3.
Before you ever knew me, I wasn't scared much. I wasn't a fearful man. Things I've seen, things I know, wouldn't do anything but cause harm. My whole brain's a bunch of missing pieces.
Now, Toby, Oscar winner Mahershala Ali stars this season. It looks pretty moody. Are you willing to forgive the deep sins of Season 2 and watch True Detective Season 3 with me? What do you think?
There's more than just Season 2 sins that I have to forgive. Of the 2 seasons, I think there were 3 good episodes followed by like 13 crappy ones. You know, I'll give it a shot. I tell you, when I was... the book that we just reviewed for the deep dive, Dead Girls, has a few parts where they have quotes from Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
And when you just read it on the page, it's just so incredibly dopey.
Yeah.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah, it's that kind of shit. And it's like, what?
I liked it. I'm sorry I liked Season 1. Liked it. Sorry, Toby.
It showed that the direction and the mood and stuff, and I thought the setup for 1 was good. So I'll check it, I'll definitely check out the first episode or 2, but my hopes are not super high.
You may have to do more than that because we may review it on this podcast, Toby. You just say you can't just skip it. Like if we're gonna make you watch this stupid Pam Smart thing we're gonna be talking about, you gotta watch True Detective Season 3. Laura, what do you think? Will you watch it with me? Yes or no? True Detective Season 3.
I'll watch it. I'm in.
Laura, you'll watch anything.
I'll watch anything.
Laura's I watch Alaska the Bush People.
I've been watching Father Brown this week, so I'll watch anything.
So Kevin and I were watching this last week, a show called Northwoods Law, which I believe is on Animal Planet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're filming all over the state. Laura, they've been filming around you, right?
They have, and they just filmed. One of my reporter friends, Jason Schreiber, just had what I thought was a very funny story about the sharks that were discovered in the middle of the road over in one of our towns, and apparently the film crew showed up for that with the Fish and Game people. So
yes.
Yeah,
this is a show about New Hampshire Fish and Game busting all sorts of people doing dubious things like having sex in their cars in the woods and hunting without permits and. My son's history teacher was randomly on it, which was funny.
So dogs got
If they want to talk to me about timber taking,
oh yeah,
I'm available.
No, but what I'm saying is we'll literally watch anything. So Kevin, will you watch Season 3 of True Detective with me?
I will, because you'll have your hands on the remote.
All right. Well, I think it's time to move on. Kevin, there has been an update in the Adnan Syed case. 30 seconds. Can you just tell us what that is before we move on to the media review part of our show?
Yeah. So this part of the process is that the state has filed its brief with the Court of Appeals of Maryland. This is their Supreme Court. And there's some good analysis done by our friend Legal Siri, Colin Miller at Evidence Prof blog, and one of the things that the state is arguing is this thing about Gutierrez saying that her strategy in not going after Asia McClain, pursuing Asia McClain as an alibi witness, was that she was trying to establish an alibi by routine.
Yeah, which isn't a thing.
Right, which isn't a thing, but they're arguing, well, her thought was that every day he was at track practice, and then he went to, at this time, and he always went to Ramadan, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of where they're at, and we're waiting now for the response from Justin Brown.
All right. Wow, we covered a lot of stuff in the first half of this show.
We did.
Let's just hope the second half doesn't take as long, shall we?
Right now, everybody's looking at their device, checking to see, oh my goodness.
This is the abbreviated review portion.
Woo! Well, now we're going to talk about the media review portion of the show. And we are going to talk about Investigation Discovery's 3-part look at the 1990 case of Pamela Smart.
He was just laying there. It was just total shock. I don't even remember the entire night, but I remember certain flashes of it. I wanted them to solve the murder of my husband. And so I was extremely cooperative, and they were very nice. And then there was a time when that all shifted.
Prosecutors say the 24-year-old directed her high school student lover to kill her husband. The New Hampshire trial predated court TV, making it the first live broadcast of a trial. All these years later, Pam Smart maintains her innocence and says she never received a fair trial.
If you go and admit to a murder that you didn't even commit, you can get out of prison. But if you're really innocent, you can't. What kind of system do we have? As of now, there is no chance for parole.
Pamela Smart, an American Murder Mystery, is available on demand and free online with your TV subscription. We will be talking spoilers of this case that everyone knows everything about anyway. So if you'd like to remain spoiler-free for our review of this show, you can jump ahead to our thumbs up or thumbs down review in the show notes. We will put the time code. So here's my first question for the panel about an American Murder Mystery, Pamela Smart. Kevin Flynn, why was this show made?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. Well, I think that investigation discovery is catching on to the new public desire for stories about where the justice system went wrong.
Right.
That was really launched by Serial. And so, I mean, that's a little more difficult than the usual stuff they're doing, which is the murder of the week. So I think they're looking at cases where maybe they think they can sort of raise that rhetorical question: did everything go right? Kind of like, what is her name, Diane Diamond? Or
yes.
Who,
as Toby pointed out in his notes to me, doesn't know what actual words mean.
Doesn't know what words mean. Talks in rhetorical questions. What could be the thing?
Toby, do you want to give some examples of words that Diane Diamond doesn't know the meaning of?
Well, she just says things like, I took a few notes. At one point she says that Pam Smart literally had those 4 teenagers wrapped around her little finger.
Not literally.
It's like, no, she didn't literally have that. And then she describes one of the lawyers as coming on like a train wreck.
That's right.
Yes. We looked at each other.
We actually paused it and went back when she said that.
And what is she? Is she a journalist or a lawyer, or what is she?
Apparently, she's a journalist of some kind. And you also commented on the very classy thing that she said to Pamela Smart herself when she went to interview her in the Bedford jail in upstate New York. What did she say to her?
She said, "You're going to die here." And Pam's like, "Oh, yep." It's like, okay.
Yeah,
Awkward.
but at least she got a new shirt before she died.
She did. A couple of things that I would like to mention about this show, An American Murder Mystery, Pamela Smart. One, hero prosecutor Paul Maggiato, who features prominently in the show.
He's cleaned up very well,
is
hasn't he?
Someone we know.
Yeah.
He's my personal lawyer. What? He is my personal lawyer.
Oh my gosh.
Paul Maggiato. And I will just say, as the show describes him as a pit bull in the courtroom, I can say from personal experience, Paul Maggiato is a pit bull in the courtroom.
There's nothing like having your civil attorney be a former homicide prosecutor.
Does he come on like a train wreck?
He comes on. There is one thing.
I just peed a little. It was very funny.
There is one thing that you see a lot in the Pam Smart thing is where he keeps interrupting and doesn't let the person on the stand answer, and it has to be admonished by the judge.
He does that.
That still happens. Multiple times. He's like, "Your Honor, I'm not." And he kind of, "Yeah, you are."
Well, another thing that I want to mention is some of their atmospherics around New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. Seabrook, New Hampshire, Laura Bricker, which I may have conflated a little bit with Salisbury in our last episode.
Yes.
Because the indoor shooting range next to an elementary school is actually not in Salisbury, Massachusetts. It is in Seabrook, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
The show goes to great lengths to point out to us how trashy Seabrook, New Hampshire is. As a Seacoast, New Hampshire resident, how do you feel about the characterization of the atmosphere in New Hampshire in this series?
Well, I would say, Seabrook is definitely, a town. I've covered Seabrook as both a newspaper reporter and as a defense investigator. And it's a community where, I would say a good majority of the people there, for the most part, do not have a lot of resources. I did a huge story at one point on when heroin was like probably 15 years ago, coming into this area, and that was where the hub of all of the overdoses were happening. And when you live around here, people always kind of, Seabrook, I think to highlight where those kids came from, you did sort of need to understand the community that they grew up in.
Right.
I think the most interesting thing about it, which they don't talk about at all, is that Winnicott High School, which is where they went, includes some very wealthy communities as well.
Yeah.
So it's this real mix, and that I imagine that being from Seabrook probably doesn't have the same cachet as like kids who are wealthy and come from Hampton. And
Northampton.
I would assume that there was.
There's definitely a class divide in the
there's
school
some
system
class
there.
issues, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there were so many things about this case. And it's so funny because this was a 3-part series. And I don't know if you guys know, there was an HBO documentary made about the trial of Pam Smart a few years ago. That's very interesting. That points out a lot of the flaws in the actual trial. And we've talked about this in the show before, I think. The HBO documentary talks about how the trial being televised actually worked really to the detriment of the defense. And this really doesn't go into that at all. And one of the other things they don't go into at all, which is so strange to me, is they keep referring to Pam Smart's relationship with Billy Flynn as an affair in this show. And I'm just like, she was a staff member at a school. He was 15 years old. That was a sex crime. That was not an affair. Like in any other context, especially now, this show was now made in 2018, and they're not saying like back then we called it an affair, now we'd call it a sex crime. He was 15. She was an adult working in his school. Like,
if the gender roles were reversed, it would have been much more obvious,
right?
right?
It doesn't matter if they're reversed. There was just a staff member of a New Hampshire high school this month convicted of a sex crime because she had an affair with
right.
like
No, but I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying
this
wouldn't have been even an issue.
I know.
You know, if it was.
But I guess the issue with me is that this show made in 2018 continues to in the narration.
They tried to kind of romanticize it.
Yes. And they even talked to like modern day Pam Smart, and nobody ever like says to her like, you committed a sex crime. You like basically took advantage of this poor child. You were an adult. I mean, there were so many things about it that were weird. Another super weird thing that Toby was also in your notes, and I'd like you to expand on a little bit, was the use of reenactments in this series. Toby, thoughts?
You know, I always hate reenactments in these types of series because they don't really serve any purpose other than to have just something on the screen while somebody talks.
Yeah.
But these reenactments were so strangely horrible in that you would see a clip of the actual like courtroom footage of, say, like the defense lawyer who's got like this weird kind of, he's balding and yet he somehow still has sort of a mullet.
Mark Sisti.
And then,
yeah, his little ponytail.
Who we also know, by the way.
Yes, yep.
And then they go to the reenactment, and it's some guy with like kind of like a really short haircut.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't look anything like
Put
him.
together,
And it's
yeah.
like, but you've got all this footage of him. Why don't you just use the footage and just turn off the volume and just talk over it?
Yeah.
And it's just again and again
Even
and
the Pam
again.
Smart
It's like these
actress
people,
looked nothing like Pam Smart.
Yeah, I mean, none of them look like. And then what Billy Flynn or whatever his name is, like the guy who's playing him. You know, there is no resemblance. They don't even bother to try to give him like a real mullet. You know, it's just like they literally just grabbed people off the street and were like, okay, well, you pretend you're a 15-year-old murderer. You pretend you're this like seductress, you know, media person at Winnicott High School. It would be what I would do if I was making a parody of these things.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just so closely juxtaposed.
Yeah.
So there's just no way of avoiding it.
Well, you'd have the real person talking about what they did, and then it would cut to the reenactment, and you'd hear and see the real person, and then immediately see the person that looked nothing like them doing it.
Yeah, that was annoying.
I have to say, Laura, one of the things that I think has also gotten lost in a lot of the Pam Smart stuff, which really struck me watching, there's a lot of Pam in this 3-part series, like a lot of present-day Pam in prison. Pam Smart is really bright and articulate, and she's a good talker.
Yeah.
I'd love to just know, like, what do you think about Pam, Laura?
I don't know. I have to tell you, I kind of have Pam fatigue because, you know, I thought it was interesting to see her again. I was like, oh, look, Pam, I think she went to beauty school while she's been in prison. So
yeah, I think so too.
I think I remember seeing that story a while back. You know, so I was like, okay, she's looking kind of hardened. She definitely looks, you know, a little, not quite as, you know, fresh as she once did, but she's looking good, and she is very articulate, and she's good at articulating her case. I don't buy what she's saying, but she sounds good saying it.
Yeah.
I guess it's just at some point, some of these cases, when you live in this area, you hear there's certain cases that just never go away. And Pam Smart case, I have to say, one of the things talking about, scenery in New Hampshire that drove me bananas in this is they kept flashing in on the Rockingham County Courthouse and saying in Exeter.
Yeah.
And that was not where the trial took place.
right.
The trial actually took place in my town in the old courthouse, which is now the orthopedic doctor's office.
Yep.
But it's one of those cases where when you live here, you know so many people that have a connection to this case. Like it's like somebody I know, her mom sold them the condo, and
Right.
then somebody else's ex-husband was on the jury. And there's always some sort of connection, like Judge Gray, who was the judge in this case. I remember like one of my first times covering something in court, I was covering your friend Seth Bader, and I took a picture in the courtroom. Oh my word. I got hauled into Judge Gray's chambers, got in some trouble. He called my editor. So I like that sort of connection. Like when you know the people that are in the show.
Yeah.
It's funny that Judge Gray
admonished you for that.
for one photo.
He did.
After
He did.
the goddamn Pam Smart trial. Now I'm going to crack down.
He was like, "Who is your editor?" That like, and I was like terrified. I think I was like just out of college. I was like, "Oh my God."
Well, Kevin, another huge omission in this show is they have the reporter, a WMUR reporter, a TV reporter who most closely
Bill
followed
Spencer.
this.
Yeah. Breathless Bill Spencer.
Yes, but they did not talk about, as they did in the HBO documentary, at all the unethical shit he did while covering this case.
Well, he was pretty much he was following, at least it's friends said that they felt like he was following them because they would be in a bar and all of a sudden there's Bill Spencer.
He talked about this in the HBO documentary. Yeah. It was basically like he was, when the police were investigating the case, he was trying to solve the case.
Yeah.
And he was inserting himself in the case. He was going to local bars where he knew Pam Smart's friends hung out, and he wasn't identifying himself. He was literally just eavesdropping. And then he would report it on TV the next day, like shit he heard in a bar. Like, it's bad.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, look, one of my problems I have with this version of the Pam case, I mean, they call it an American murder mystery.
What's the mystery?
I'm like, is this really a mystery about what might have happened?
Yeah.
And so they, at the end, in the third episode, they tried to make the case like, well, maybe she didn't do it, and maybe she's the patsy.
There were tapes.
Yeah, and the tapes, they're trying to make the case, oh, well, there was, the transcripts didn't match the tapes everywhere. But yet they don't give us a single example of where that might be.
Right.
Or whether or not it's exculpatory.
Right. Like, what was cut from the tape? So, like, you hear her on the tape saying to the kids, like, you better not say anything or else you're going to go to the slammer. So, like, what could she possibly have said that, like, okay, so this is like my reenactment of what she could have said. All right, kids, I'm going to say the thing I would say if I was guilty. You better not say anything or you're going to the slammer.
Yeah, that they just don't really, they just throw stuff out there, but don't, when it's so easy for the viewer, they could back it up.
Yeah.
And they just don't, which makes me feel like, okay, there just wasn't anything there to begin with.
Right, and it's punctuated by Paul Maggiato's awesome response to the question when they try to catch him, and it's like, who transcribed the tapes? He's like, I don't know, somebody in the Attorney General's office who knew how to type.
Yeah.
There's another point that I thought was sort of classic is when somebody, I can't remember who it was trying to make this connection that Pam Smart was really into rock music and she named her dog Halen and Billy was a musician. And so, you could see where their attraction might be. He was a musician? What? Did he have a guitar?
He played the tuba in the school band.
A long-haired kid in New Hampshire who plays guitar and that's your way of trying to make this connection. It was just so stupid.
It was weird because they kept trying to make this like it was new, but then they kept doing all these things that were old and bad. They have people on the screen saying she just didn't act the way someone should act after their husband died, and it's like, okay, we all know that is a bullshit thing to say. It's almost anachronistic now to say that in something like this. It's supposed to be.
And that reporter was saying it too. He was like, yeah, she walks in and she has these dead eyes.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus.
She did, by the way, though, have a dope purple plaid collarless blazer, which is like the iconic Pam Smart court outfit. Which,
Oh, you're right. She's innocent.
Laura, quick question for you. This was the first wall-to-wall televised trial in American history.
Yes.
If the judge had said no, Judge Gray had said no, and every judge since the Smart trial had said no cameras in the courtroom, how different do you think the pop culture around crime and trials would look today?
Incredibly different. I can't even imagine not being able to turn on, some form of cable network to see, the reaction blow by blow every night to a trial that's happening, or like the actual trial being broadcast. In a way, though, with the way that newspapers are just struggling, it might be kind of nice for things like newspapers for the industry, because people would actually need to wait until the newspaper came out to see what happened.
Yeah.
So there is that flip side to it.
Yeah. Toby, before we just give our thumbs up, thumbs down, and say whether or not we think Pam Smart is guilty or innocent of this crime, you had one final note. I just want to give you a chance to talk about the places they had people sit during their interviews in this show. What did you think of those settings, Toby?
This is like one of the few things that really fascinates me about these programs is that they set people like in these strange places. Like the first one I ever watched, they had this guy who was a detective sitting in a barn that was the floor was like covered in sawdust.
Oh, yeah. Which one was that? We watched that.
I'm trying to remember which one that was.
It was weird.
I was like, is this supposed to be like symbolic of something or what's going on? So in this one, like, I don't even know where that reporter is, but there's like these like really nice planks behind him that are making a wall. But then there's like some car stuff.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre. And then there's a woman who looks like she might be in a hotel room, but that they've got a little like side table and they put like stuff that it seems like somebody might imagine that a reporter might use while she was working.
Oh, that was
like
Tammy Plyler, yeah.
Yeah, like a pad and a pencil and stuff. But it just looks like a hotel room. Oh, then there's another person who's like in an empty restaurant.
Yeah. Is that Aaron Joyce? Yeah.
Like, who scouts these things and makes the decision?
Got to find a quiet place.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can be in an empty diner. You, on the other hand, are going to be in a hotel. And you, I've got this, like, garage.
We're going down to Namco.
All right. Kevin,
bizarre.
Pam Smart, is there any chance you think she did not orchestrate the murder of her husband, Greg?
Nope.
Laura Bricker, do you think there's any chance that Pam Smart did not orchestrate the murder of her husband, Greg?
Nope.
Toby Ball, do you think there's any chance that Pam Smart did not orchestrate the murder of her husband, Greg?
This is actually, watching this show is about the sum total of my knowledge about this case.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like there's much doubt.
Yeah, the tapes are pretty damning, I gotta say. Like, I think Pam Smart's trial, and they don't even go into that in this, and it's so painful because that HBO show was so good. Her trial was terrible, which they don't even go into in the show. But yeah, there's the tapes. There are tapes. Lordy, there are tapes.
Lordy, there are tapes.
All right, let's just quickly do our thumbs up, thumbs down review of Pamela Smart, an American murder mystery on Investigation Discovery. Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Should our listeners check it out?
This is one where I'd love to bring back thumbs sideways. So you don't need to watch it. There's no new information. They promise new information, but I do get sucked in. So because I know the people and the places. So I watched it and I enthusiastically watched it. But I don't think I would recommend it.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for you on Pam Smart, an American murder mystery.
So this is my moment where I can say something nice about Pam Lindsay, is that I would much, much rather listen to Up and Vanish than have to watch this shit again.
Is that like a thumbs down, Toby?
Yeah, it's a thumbs down. Like, I honestly, like, if there's something interesting about the case, they did not find it. Like, it makes you appreciate the shows that we review that are actually good about, like, just like little things. Like, I was thinking about how on Evil Genius, like, you get a sense of like the police that are working the case. Like, you get a sense of their personalities, and they're a little bit of introspective about the work they did and stuff. You got the sense that some of these people might be kind of characters. It'd be interesting to hear from them, but they're so limited in what they're responding to. Like, the questions, I think, must be so bad that they don't come across as personalities at all. They're just people who are moving the story along.
Right.
I think it failed on multiple levels. So yeah, it's awful, and again,
even worse
much
than
rather
Up and
listen
Vanish.
to Payne Lindsay.
I just imagine like the poster outside the movie theater that has like the quotes on it, and like the quote for this is even worse than Up and Vanished. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Despite the heroic appearance of our friend and personal lawyer Paul Maggiato in this, who, by the way, I think for what he had to do, did a great job. Because he was just asked questions and he answered them.
He went from looking like Groucho Marx.
Yes. And he does, by the way, in his office, in his Concord office, have framed the newspaper from the day after Pam Smart's conviction. And the headline says, Guilty. Anyway, huge thumbs down for me. I would also rather listen to Up and Vanished Season 2 than have to watch this show again. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, I'm a thumbs down. It's not that it's a horrible show. It's if you're like Toby and maybe don't know anything about the case, and it's probably an okay primer. If you know about the case and you want to dig a little deeper about the due process and the media attention, which is probably the most interesting legacy of the case, then that HBO special might be more your
Captivated.
Captivated. Yeah. I think that's probably more your speed. This again, it's not horrible, but I would be like Laura and say thumbs down. You don't really need to watch it, especially if you want to sort of get a sense of who Pam Smart is. I don't know if she'll ever be successful at winning a pardon, but I think what we probably could do for her is send her a homesick candle.
Oh my God!
The one that smells like New Hampshire.
Oh my God, that was a great segue, Kevin.
Homesick candles have these really great wax candles, premium soy wax, premium cotton wicks, but the candles from Homesick, each one is from a different state. It has
a signature scent.
A signature scent from a different state. So here's the New Hampshire one. And we could send this
to
her.
Pam.
To Pam.
What does it smell like?
It smells like
really good.
Warm apple cider, spiked with cinnamon and clove.
Yes.
Cozy hay rides curled up under a blanket.
Yes.
And the sweet smell of vanilla in the air. I really love that candle.
It smells nothing like a murder for hire by teenagers.
It does not. And true crime fans, you don't need to be going to prison in order to enjoy a candle from where you've been. Homesick candles are great for folks who, maybe moving to a new job or going to school someplace. Give them a candle with their state on it so that they kind of remember where they're from. It's a great conversation piece.
Hand me the Massachusetts one. I want to
All
see
right, so I have two.
You're from Massachusetts.
Yes, I have these two. And Rebecca, you're from New York. So I've got a New York and a Massachusetts candle.
Okay, there's also a New York City one we have upstairs,
New York
right?
City, they have a special,
So the Massachusetts candle says also apple cider, simmering coffee, just baked donuts. Oh, they're giving you a little tribute to Dunks there. Sweet hints of tonka bean, balanced by spicy cinnamon, a touch of fragrant clove.
Yeah, New York,
New York
sense of Adirondack with an autumn fragrance of pumpkins and apple orchards finished by sweet hay and rushing river mixed with spice notes and nutmeg and cinnamon.
That must
It's
be
great.
from a really nice part of New York.
They're fantastic candles. Their price is just $29.95 and individually hand poured. And the scents are great, but it's really about just sort of having something that says
nostalgia.
This is where I'm from.
Yeah.
Whether or not you've always been in the state and you just want to get your home state, or you want to remind folks, where you are, you should get a homesick
Great
candle.
gift.
It's a great gift, something for yourself as well. Go to homesick.com to find every single one of the 50 United States candles, plus dozens of classic U.S. cities and popular countries. Like, I was going to get you the Long Island one.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we have the Long Island one. I was going to give it to somebody else. The world have all of them shipped directly to you or your family and friends in just days. Right now, our listeners can get free shipping plus $10 off when they buy 2 or more candles. Just visit homesick.com and use code CRIME. That's homesick.com and use the code CRIME.
What else you got, Kevin?
Well, we certainly know what can happen from these true crime stories if you're an adolescent without something good to do after school.
Yeah, we do now.
Oh, dear.
If you have a kid who needs a little help after school, and they need help with their math.
Yes.
The after-school math centers that you can send your kids to, they just have these boring worksheets, right? But Revolution Math offers online classes with math games designed to heighten skills just in time for the new school year.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's not just about doing math, it's about loving it. Revolution Math classes meet online and face-to-face interactive classrooms, so you don't have to drive across town. and work it around dinner and soccer practice.
Pay your one teenage son to bring your other teenage son to his stupid tutor like I do.
Yeah. Each week, students grades 2 to 5 develop math skills with their friends right through these engaging characters and storytelling, and creates a really cool interactive experience, really like heightening digital technology.
Yep.
For
gamifying it.
Exactly. Right. It's a really great educational experience. And with the class sizes are only about 3 to 4 kids with the same teacher every week. So, there's a lasting enthusiasm for the math even before the school year starts. So enroll your student today to get your first month of classes for only $19 at revolutionmath.com/crime. That's revolutionmath.com/crime to get your first month of classes for only $19 at revolutionmath.com/crime.
What else you got, Kevin?
Well, support for our podcast is brought to you by Myra Books, publisher of the new novel Imposter's Lure by New York Times bestselling author and master of suspense Carla Neggers. This exhilarating page-turner follows FBI agents and newlyweds Emma Sharp and Colin Donovan as they investigate the mysterious disappearance of a federal prosecutor named Tara McDermott. As the search for Tara intensifies, a seemingly unrelated murder leads Emma and Colin deep into a maze of misdirection orchestrated by a clever, lethal criminal who stays one step ahead of them at every turn. Full of clever twists that will keep you guessing, Carla Neggers' Imposter's Lure is a mystery you won't want to miss. So check out Imposter's Lure, available today through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
And now it's time for our favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week. Gun smugglers in Paraguay were able to steal more than 3,000 high-powered rifles from a police armory. The theft went undetected for some time because the crooks replaced the weapons with toy guns. It's believed the rifles were transported to Argentina or Brazil, where each firearm can command about $10,000 on the black market. Local reporters are calling this the, quote, most embarrassing scandal in the history of the police force. Panel, the theft might have been discovered sooner if someone had just inspected the rifles once in a while.
Touched one?
So here's my question for you. Laura Bricker, what possession do you have that could be replaced with a replica without you even knowing about it?
That's a good question. I would have to say it would be my bike because I say I'm going to take up bike riding again. I've done it once. I don't know, when you become a grown-up, you really can't ride bikes. It hurts your ass. So they could probably replace it with, I don't even know what, and I wouldn't even notice. So
they could replace it with air, and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah. Yep.
Toby Ball, what about you? What possession do you have that could be replaced by a replica, and you wouldn't even notice?
Literally, probably almost anything. I had, at my last job, I had this lamp on my desk. With this green shade.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, this woman I work with took it and put it on her desk. And apparently 3 or 4 weeks later, I walked in and I was like, oh, wow, that's a sweet lamp. And everybody in the office started cracking up and laughing at me.
Instead, Toby had a homesick candle from New York.
Yeah, exactly.
From Syracuse.
Yeah, so it could be anything. I probably wouldn't even notice.
He has no situational awareness. What about you, Kevin? What do you own that could be replaced with a replica and you wouldn't even notice?
My broom. I don't even use it.
No, you don't.
No?
You don't.
Do you not do chores, Kevin?
Yeah. It's either that or the walk.
The walk?
You usually get a walk as a wedding gift or something like that. And
a walk.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like a brick walk up to your front door.
I was gonna say it.
Walk for
Stir
Chinese
fry.
cooking. Yeah, stir fry.
Yeah.
Don't really do it that much.
I don't know. I kind of think my husband, he could be replaced by less in shape Ricky Gervais, and I probably wouldn't even notice.
God,
what?
Because Kevin, by the way,
I gave you a fucking candle.
You look just like Ricky Gervais, do you not, Kevin Flynn?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Well, before we wrap the show up this week, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat/pet/dog of the week this week?
We do. Now, somebody nominated their pig, and I can't find it, so I'll do that one for next time.
Oh, please do. Pigs are my favorite.
So we have Andrea Fox's cat. She has 2 cats, Lola and Sushi. They have been with her since last winter. They're about a year old. She adopted them after her first almost 18-year-old cat died.
Wow.
And she'd had them for about a month. Her other cat, that was the sister to the one who died too. So she's glad she had rescued 2 kittens at the same time. She sent me some very nice pictures of them. And I also have been on Instagram a little more recently, and I have discovered this Miss Rigby boat cat. which I would also recommend checking out. This cat lives on a sailboat and is very cool.
Well, I do really love it when the cat/dog/pet of the week comes with an Instagram account. So, Laura Bricker, people want to pitch their pets of the weeks with accompanying Instagram accounts or not to you. How can they find you online?
At Laura Bricker.
And Toby Ball, people want to reach out to you and pitch you other things that you might rather watch than listen to up and finish season 2. How can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me at TobyBallNH, where I may be posting a photo of my totally sweat-soaked shirt sitting in this unbelievably hot room.
It's like we're sitting in a dog's mouth right now, people. That's what's happening.
It's
just gross.
It's ridiculous.
It's like I've been extolling the summer weather in New Hampshire for weeks. I take it all back today. Kevin Flynn, people want to reach out to you and find out how much exactly you look like old school Ricky Gervais. How can they find you on Twitter?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Reb Lavoie. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Crime Writers On. And I strongly encourage you to join the amazing community in our official Crime Writers On Facebook discussion group. We also have a regular old Facebook page, by the way. You can go to our website, crimewriterson.com, to sign up for our newsletter, which we've been sending out a bunch of lately. Or you can support the show on Patreon, and you will get access to the Balls Deep Dive Book Club podcast. Just go to patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media. Another way you can subscribe is to get a free month of Stitcher Premium. Just go to stitcherpremium.com/crime, use the code CRIME, and when you'll join, you'll get access to our companion show, Married with Podcast, the show on which Kevin and I dispense unqualified advice about all kinds of things, including relationships. Our theme song was performed by the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble and used with permission. This show was recorded in the Yoga Loft above the Bodega in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, otherwise known as Studio C, the closet in our basement where the floors are made from 100% imported from Missouri teeth.
Oh.
On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you
later.
Hey, Toby.
What's going on?
It's balls deep hot, Toby.
Oh, God. It's just ridiculous.
It's so hot that I am breaking my no drinking during the week stint to have like shitty wine in a glass with tons of ice like they did in the 70s, because that seemed to me to be the best way to cool down. Listen. Listen to how reunited this sounds.
That's some good audio right there.
Mm-hmm. If you were Bill Rankin, how would you talk about the weather in New Hampshire today?
Hi, I'm Bill Rankin. It's hot in New Hampshire. It's kind of like being in North Carolina. Everything is swampy. I'm going to take my pants off now.
Don't do that.
Oh, not again.
Rebecca,
not again.
Bill would never say that.
Have you ever seen these?
Oh, God.
Bill would never do that. He's way nicer than you.
Partners in Crime Media.
Miss Jones Baking Co. is proud to present the world's first line of microwavable organic desserts in a cup. Kevin, our family loves them, do they not? Just add water and microwave for 30 seconds to get a fresh baked cake that's fewer than 200 calories. Or try their award-winning fudgy brownie in a cup and make a warm brownie sundae in less than a minute. Ready to taste the magic? Use code CRIME at missjones.co to get 2 free desserts in a cup with any online purchase. Go to missjones.co to get 2 free desserts in a cup. Use code CRIME.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.